There comes a point in every man's life when charm no longer comes from effort, but from essence, from how he carries himself, from what he notices in silence, from the way he sees people not for who they pretend to be, but for who they truly are. And this is especially true when it comes to how an older man compliments a woman. You see, most men are taught to praise beauty, style, the surface, but a woman has heard all that before, 100 times, maybe 1,000, from younger men trying to impress her, from strangers seeking attention, from people who see her body but never her mind. Yet when an older man speaks, not to flatter but to reflect something real, his words land differently. They don't just touch her ears, they reach her soul. Why? Because with experience comes discernment, and with discernment comes depth. The man who has walked through years of joy, heartbreak, failure and resilience doesn't compliment carelessly. He doesn't hand out empty flattery. He observes, he listens, he senses, and when he finally speaks, it is with intention. That's why when a seasoned man tells a woman something meaningful about her mind, her presence, her energy, it lingers. It stays with her long after the conversation ends. Not because it was loud, but because it was true. In a world full of noise, women crave to be seen, not stared at, but truly seen. And the older man, the Stoic man, is uniquely positioned to offer that gift. Because his validation isn't cheap, his approval isn't performative. It's earned, it's honest, it's rooted in something deeper than desire. This video isn't just about compliments, it's about presence. About speaking from a place of wholeness rather than want. About connecting not with performance, but with presence, respect, and emotional precision. So if you've ever wondered why some men can say so little yet leave such a lasting impression, this is why. Let's explore the 8 compliments that don't just make a woman smile, but make her feel understood, safe, and seen. Through the eyes of a man who knows who he is. The 8 compliments that deepen connection, a Stoic perspective. Number 1. You have such a unique way of looking at things. This isn't just a compliment, it's a moment of acknowledgement. In a world where women are constantly praised for how they look, this is one of the few compliments that says, "I see how you think." It's a recognition of her intellect, her perception, her way of interpreting the world. Most people listen to respond, but the Stoic listens to understand. When you say this, you're not simply admiring her intelligence, you're affirming her individuality. You're telling her that her thoughts matter, that her insight stands out, that you value her mind not as an accessory to her beauty, but as the source of it. This type of compliment creates emotional safety. It tells her you're not just interested in how she presents herself, but in who she is when the room goes quiet. Number 2. You make things feel effortless. This isn't about praising perfection. It's about honoring poise. Behind every graceful woman is a history of burden, of carrying more than she shows, of balancing roles without applause. This compliment is a mirror. It reflects back to her that her strength, even in silence, has not gone unnoticed. It reassures her that even when she feels like she's barely holding it together, someone sees the steadiness in her chaos. The Stoic knows that virtue often goes unrewarded, and so when you speak these words, you offer more than admiration. You offer recognition that what she gives the world every day is not small. It is, in fact, extraordinary. Number 3. You remind me of why life is fun. When a woman can reawaken your sense of playfulness, your lightness, your laughter, that's a gift few men truly acknowledge. In this world, seriousness becomes a badge of adulthood. But joy? Joy requires trust. It requires presence. To say this is to tell her, you bring out the best parts of me. It reminds her that she's not just attractive, she's energizing. She's the reason the moment feels easier, lighter, more alive. For a Stoic, joy isn't frivolous, it's a virtue. Marcus Aurelius taught that contentment and meaning arise not from external pleasures, but from internal harmony. When she brings you closer to that harmony, let her know. Let her feel that her presence has purpose. Number 4. You have this presence that draws people in. She may not even notice it. The way rooms quiet when she enters, the way people turn to listen when she speaks. Her presence is felt before her voice is heard, and that's rare. This compliment doesn't flatter the surface, it celebrates an intangible force. The kind of quiet magnetism born not from trying, but from being. It affirms that she doesn't need to compete or perform, she simply needs to be. To recognize her presence is to tell her, your energy is enough. And when a man of experience says that, it carries more weight than any line about her looks. Number 5. You make me want to be a better man. This is the kind of compliment that lives beyond the moment. It reflects growth, humility, aspiration. You're not saying she completes you. You're saying she inspires you. That something about her presence stirs something in you, something noble, something higher, and that you want to rise, not because she asked, but because her example calls it out of you. The Stoic man embraces constant refinement. He isn't ashamed of evolution, he welcomes it. To share this truth with her is to invite her into your journey. It's not about dependency, it's about devotion, to your own becoming and to the one who helped spark it. Number 6. You have a kind of beauty that doesn't fade. As time passes, the world often tries to convince women that beauty is youth. But men who've lived enough years know that real beauty is something else entirely. It's in the way she speaks truth without cruelty, the way she carries herself without apology, the way her soul radiates through her eyes, not because of makeup, but because of meaning. This compliment is a shelter in a world obsessed with surface. It tells her, I see who you've become, and it's more breathtaking than who you were. Because the kind of beauty you're speaking to is the kind that endures. It matures, deepens, and becomes even more captivating with time. Number 7. You're the most interesting woman I've ever met. Not the most beautiful, not the most fun, the most interesting. This is the kind of compliment that pauses a woman's heart. It tells her that you see her story, not just her smile, her depth, not just her style, that her past, her quirks, her passions, her contradictions, they make her unforgettable. It speaks to a different kind of attraction, the kind that isn't easily explained. And for a woman who's grown tired of surface-level praise, this type of acknowledgement is both rare and transformative. The Stoic man doesn't chase novelty, he values authenticity. When he tells a woman she's the most interesting person he's met, he's giving her something she may not have heard in years, but will remember for decades. Number 8. I love how comfortable I feel around you. This isn't just about her. It's about what she creates. A space, a stillness, a feeling of home. For many men, especially those who have lived through performance, pressure and pride, to feel comfortable, to feel like you can let your guard down, is sacred. When you express that, you're not only telling her she's safe, you're telling her that you feel safe being yourself. That's powerful and vulnerable. But vulnerability, when offered in strength, is the foundation of intimacy. It opens the door to connection that isn't performative, it's present. And when she knows she's the woman you can exhale around, you'll become the man she'll never forget. These compliments don't belong to the mouths of boys. They belong to men who've seen enough, failed enough, and grown enough to know that real connection begins with sincerity. The Stoic man compliments not to gain favor, but to offer truth, not to charm, but to see, not to impress, but to understand. And in doing so, he doesn't just speak to a woman, he speaks into her. Compliment is an art of the Stoic man. A compliment in the hands of a wise man is never casual. It's deliberate, it's earned, it doesn't spill out to fill silence, it emerges when silence is no longer enough. And for the Stoic man, a compliment is not a tactic, it's an expression of clarity, of perception, of presence. We live in a time where words are cheap, tossed around like coins in a fountain, with little meaning and even less weight. But a compliment rooted in Stoic philosophy is cut from a different cloth. It isn't born from a desire to please, it's born from the discipline of seeing clearly. A man trained in restraint does not rush to speak. He observes, he studies, and when he finally speaks, he speaks to the essence, not the exterior. To the Stoic, giving a woman a compliment is not about gaining favor, it's not about seduction nor approval, it's about offering a reflection of truth that she may not even see in herself. That kind of recognition isn't manipulative, it's generous. And generosity in its highest form is the act of giving without expecting anything in return. But here's the paradox. When a woman receives that kind of compliment, the kind that is precise, thoughtful, and spoken without performance, she feels something most men never give her: safety. Not the safety of protection from the world, but the safety of being fully herself in front of someone who sees her for who she is, and not just what she offers. The Stoic man understands this. His words are like arrows, and once released, they must fly true. He doesn't flatter, he doesn't embellish. He speaks when he must, and when he does, it lands. His compliments are not decoration, they are discernment spoken aloud. That's what separates a man who has grown from a boy who performs. A boy may memorize compliments from a book. A man, especially one who walks the Stoic path, gives compliments that cannot be copied, because they are born of real presence. They are the result of having paid attention, of having listened between the lines, of having noticed the unseen. To compliment well is not just to say something beautiful, it is to witness something beautiful. And women, especially those who have lived long enough to be weary of hollow praise, recognize this difference instantly. So, if you wish to elevate your connection with a woman, not by saying more, but by saying better, then let your words come from the deepest place within you, not from desire, but from awareness, not from impulse, but from understanding. That is what makes a Stoic man unforgettable, not how often he speaks, but how deeply his words echo when he does. In the end, what makes a compliment powerful isn't its cleverness, it's its honesty. A well-spoken truth, offered without expectation, can echo longer than grand gestures or expensive gifts. Women remember the man who made them feel seen, not because he tried to impress them, but because he paid attention, because he slowed down, because he spoke with presence. The Stoic man doesn't use compliments to win affection. He uses them to honor reality. He understands that words are tools of connection, not manipulation. And in a world flooded with noise, the rare man who speaks with intention becomes unforgettable. So here's the invitation: speak less, but mean more. Let your compliments reflect not just what she shows, but who she is when no one else is watching. Let them rise from clarity, not craving. Let them be rooted in strength, not performance. And above all, let them remind her of her worth, not just in your eyes, but in her own. If this message spoke to something deeper in you, if you believe in mastering your words as you master your life, then you belong here. Subscribe to Ultimate Stoicism, not just to hear more, but to grow more. This is a space for men who don't chase approval, but pursue depth. And if that's the man you're becoming, welcome home.